a lawyer and a computer science engineer, and not at all a venture capitalist. What is important to understand when we talk about investment is what works and what does not. The first thing is everybody wants to have profitability as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and as risk-free as possible. But the problem is not that. The problem is a trade-off. The trade-off is if I have a lot of profitability, then I have a lot of risk. And if I have a lot of risk, I have a lot of risk to end up with half my capital or nothing. So the big problem today is the names are no longer given to what there is. If we want to develop Africa, if we want to raise money for Africa, okay, we must understand the international treaties all have failed. They don't work. They just extend colonial time. They don't function. They don't function for Africa, they don't function for Asia, for Vietnam, for other countries. These treaties have all failed. Today, we have a new economy. This new economy is partly made by the people of the crypto, but let's be clear. Crypto is a great jungle for fraud. So where do we go? Well, if we have capital and we want a better world for our children and we want a good profitability, where do we go? We go to a new type of investment fund. Investment funds that are secured IPO. That means secured initial public offerings funds. The initial public offering creates money. Why it creates money? Because if you buy a company private and you sell it public, there is a creation of a multiple called the price per earning ratio. Sorry for being too technical, but at a certain moment we need to become technical in order to express things. Today, the problem is, can we operate in African countries without corruption? Can we operate out of fraud? And the only way to do it is to have a fund that has on its board local people who can guide us to avoid this fraud and to avoid these problems, and also of experienced financiers. We must stop the salesmanship. All countries in Africa, or almost all of them, are great. Every one of these countries has unbelievable climate, has great landscapes, has good resources, and has great people. The level of culture in Africa, and very few people know that, as an average of elite, okay, and I'm talking about elite, the average of elite in Africa is better than the average elite in Europe or United States. So there are more PhDs in Africa than there are in Europe or United States every year. I'm not talking overall amount, I'm talking every year of new people coming. So let's not talk about what works. Let's talk about what does not work. What doesn't work is corruption. What doesn't work is the number of frauds that are organized by people who want to take advantage of a legal order that does not function. Once we will have addressed that through some direct funds, then there will be no more problem. It's useless to talk about what works. I would like to invite Kevin Kishora, who is basically the grand master of this event, to organize one event a year. And this event should be called No Bullshit About Africa. And this No Bullshit About Africa event would focus on all the real problems Africa has. Not about what is great, not about saying to people like that. I was about to ask earlier, it was almost a challenge. When they were talking here about the possibility for an investment, I wanted to ask something very simple. Who is an investor? Who among you is interested in investing in Botswana? So, what is the use of that event? This event is, and I'm inviting Kevin Kishora for that, is to create a spot, maybe to create something that can be put on YouTube, put on the internet, so that real investors look at it. Real investors who are not in this room today, okay, who are multi-billion-dollar funds, can look at a way to invest in Africa without corruption and without fraud. And that's the solution, that's right there. A gentleman was saying earlier, okay, invest in Africa, you can get 100% in 1 year. You can get more than that. And I'll show you ways to get much more than that. The question is not to get more. The question is, don't start to talk about performance, talk about safety. Because where there is no safety and no peace, there is no investment. Finance grows where stability is. Finance does not grow where doubt is.
I agree. Thank you, Mark. And I think with that, you will have your chance, darling. There is a private room where you can have your powwow. Please, thank you so much, Mark. We will never